Hello, listeners, and welcome to Friday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to Friday, the superhero of the work week.
Nice. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Let's jump into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew.
Ooh, what are you going to enjoy today?
Passion fruit tea.
To start a passionate weekend away on romantic adventures, I hope.
Let's go.
Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for ignoring my aunt and uncle when they came to my house as guests? I, 28 female, live alone, away from all of my family members, working a job that has been my dream since I was a little girl. I have a pretty static lifestyle that includes my work, sports cars, my house, and nightlife. My aunt, my mom's sister, 50 female, and her husband, essentially my uncle, 54 male, sent their only son off to college somewhere near the city I live in. They wanted to go see their son and asked me if they could stay over a couple of days and see me as well on their way. My mom also insisted I say yes, and so I did. They stayed with me for a week on their way to their son's city and 9 days on the way back. While they were with me, I got up around 5:30 in the morning, did my workout routine, and left home at 7. I came back around 11 like I always do. My aunt said I could have managed everything much better and that there was nothing in the fridge when they came to my house. I told them they could order anything they wanted on my account, and there was only fruit and water because that's all I need when I'm home. She also complained that I spent some nights away, which could be avoided, but I'm just so used to my routine, meaning girls I spend time with sometimes. I'm bi with a leaning towards women, that's why. My aunt also said I could at least spend one meal with them, which I did on the weekend, but other than that, I've got work. After I explained everything, my aunt said I was being a rude host and that she wanted to see her niece in a much better condition. She even got teary-eyed for God's sake. I said I can of course strive to be better, but this is how my life is, and she came knowing this. She hasn't spoken to me at all since she went back other than a text saying thank you. My mom says I need to get my life together and apologize to my aunt. Was I the a-hole? Edit. They were initially supposed to stay for 2 days each time, and they asked to extend the visit every night. There's a lot to see in the area I live in, and I have plenty of extra space, so I honestly didn't mind them staying as long as it didn't disturb my routine. Am I the a-hole?
I'll start like this. In my perspective, I don't believe the OP is the a-hole, but I'll say that I can understand where like the aunt would feel that kind of way towards her niece, because when you're dealing with older generations, when they visit you, they kind of expect, because that's how they did it for their parents and their parents.
I know where you're getting at here. They're gonna make a meal out of this.
Yeah, that you stop your entire existence to cater and be with them while they're residing in your residence or in your town or whatever. That's just how it works. That's how generations of people have done it. So I can get where her aunt is like having this feeling a sort of way about the situation, but that's not how life works. I don't believe the EOP is the a-hole. She even says it. They came only expecting to stay there initially for 2 days, going and coming. All right. So them extending the trip and her being okay with it, because a lot of the time people, when they say, okay, you're here for these 2 days, that's all you're getting out of them. So for her to be understanding about it and go, okay, extend your stay for what, 5 more days on top of that, but not have a leave date. I think a lot of people wouldn't be okay with that, even if it's family. She's not the a-hole. I just think it's a generational gap thing where, again, there was an expectation of how people used to do things and how she's just living her life. She didn't do anything wrong. She said, I'll pay for the food. Just use my tab, right? So she was at least acquiescing to what they were complaining about. First, it was food, right? They're like, we need to eat with you. Well, she does on the weekend, right?
One day.
I think when you come to someone's home and then you keep extending out the trip, that's where I get, I'm like, I don't know if you really have a place to speak anymore, because you're open-endedly going another day and another one and another one. I'm like, I get it. people get into their routines. They like living their life. She seems like she has her stuff together, right? She's 28. She's enjoying her life. She gave you, how much did you want? Did you want all 7 days to, I mean, yes, I already answered that. Of course, they want all 7 days to be hyper looped into like paying attention to them and doing only them stuff. But that's not how real life works.
Well, all the Redditors also say she's not the a-hole at all. In fact, one Redditor actually commented and said that it was kind of weird that she would put her sexual preferences out there, with claiming that she's bi and how she leans. And OP actually clarified and said the reason why she even put it out there is I guess her family's made a big deal about her being bi.
Oh, okay.
And she just wanted to be sure to put it all out there in case for whatever reason that would sway people one way or the other. But a lot of Redditors,
they really don't care.
They don't really care.
Yeah, you're dealing with a different mindset of people these days, I think.
It's your private life and how you want to do things.
No
of course, would it have been nice had you spent a little more time? Yeah,
sure.
Probably. But in the way a lot of people were saying that it was very rude that her family would extend the time.
That's the issue. 2 days.
And then want her to bend.
We stayed here for you.
So I'm guessing what happened is that they stayed the initial 2 days and then the aunt and uncle didn't see her and they're like, well then we'll add another day. Well, then we'll add another day.
We'll stay till you can spend time with us.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
she kept coming back from work going, oh, you're still living?
That's freaking hilarious. I don't think it's quite like that, but that's still pretty funny. Now, for our next story, let's see how we do with surprises, shall we? Am I the a-hole for buying concert tickets for my girlfriend without asking? I'm a big fan of band concerts. I'll go to multiple ones a year with all my favorite music groups. Last month, I found out that some of the music groups I love will be coming to town in October, and I was very excited. I told my girlfriend, Laura, about it and showed her the bands. She seemed to enjoy one of them, so I decided to surprise her by purchasing 2 tickets for the concert. I thought she'd be happy about it, but she was actually pissed. She told me that it was a nice thought, but kind of insensitive to assume that she'd be available that day when it's a weekday and she works. Plus, that she'd have to take the entire day off due to the time and location of the concert. I told her I did it because I thought it would be a fun date for us, but she really didn't seem thrilled and asked why I would spend hundreds of dollars on her under the assumption that she'd be able to just take that time off. I understand where she's coming from, but I really think that it was a dramatic reaction and a nice surprise. Am I the a-hole here?
All right. They sound young. He sounds like he was just trying to do a nice thing. But I think in this situation, you're kind of like two people. You're either one that really loves going to concerts, all right? Because there are people that love that. And they'll spend their entire day from morning to night at said concert, enjoying all of it.
That's impressive.
And then there are people like me that don't care. It's a commitment. You're standing all day or sitting if you're lucky, if it's like in an area where you can. But a lot of time, it's just if you're not really involved with that type of the bands that are playing, if you're not like a diehard lover of that type of music, it's the worst experience ever. I feel like that's where your girlfriend's coming from. I don't think she really cares about your hobby. And I think that maybe that's what made her more upset. I don't even think it was about the PTO or the day off, because the thing is, and actually it might be a little bit about that, because those are important, right? You plan out where you're taking your sick days or your PTO or all that stuff, because it's important, right? You want to plan for holidays and vacations and things like that. If that was important to her, then she would have made that day and she would have been like, oh my God, yes. Let me go stay all day surrounded by stinky people all day on a Wednesday. Let's go. She would have done it in a heartbeat, but it wasn't her jam. And I think you kind of know that. That's just kind of the way it makes me say. Or if you don't know that, then you found out that she's not as into it as you are. She says that she was upset because it was expensive too. Hundreds of dollars.
So maybe it would make her feel like she's obligated to go?
Maybe. And that might be some of it is maybe she feels almost forced into the situation. And I guess I could feel kind of way about that. But I got to say, I think he's the a-hole just because this is a weekday. He didn't ask to see if she would be okay with taking that day off. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I understand the charm and the romantic part of the, hey, by the way, we're going to this thing, baby.
Surprise.
Ready to stay all day, probably uncomfortable standing and being surrounded by a bunch of people you don't care about. I got the tickets.
Here's the in-laws.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
So, yeah, you're the a-hole, but I get his intent.
Well, all of Reddit says there are no a-holes here. It was a nice gesture that he did. it doesn't take away from that nice gesture, and it doesn't necessarily make him the a-hole. It also doesn't make her the a-hole that she just wasn't expecting the surprise and she reacted the way she did.
I forget that thing exists. No a-holes.
Unfortunately, your reaction to something, I mean, if it's a surprise and you weren't expecting it, the surprise could have been good or bad, depending on who you are. So a lot of people are like, there are no a-holes here. Yeah. It's just a really bad situation, unfortunately. So we actually have a small update.
Oh.
For our first update. All right, guys. Thank you for the input. I can see I was being the a-hole. I didn't know this, but apparently Laura has read it and came across this post in which she figured out pretty fast was about her. She didn't like that I was calling her dramatic, and it's been a bit tense between us. Current update.
Uh-oh.
I talked to Laura about it, and she told me that she was sorry for blowing up at me, but that as a teacher, it's hard for her to take days like that off. She explained that she only gets 2 days of PTO a semester, and while she really appreciated me thinking of her, she just wished there was more communication between us, and that next time she'd like it if I would tell her these kinds of things first. The two of us are going to the concert in October, but we will be leaving it early so that she won't be exhausted in the morning.
Hey, that sounds like a win-win.
She doesn't mind the sweaty people.
She didn't mind the sweaty people.
Now, there was a commenter that kind of just made me chuckle, and their comment said, never attempt to do anything nice for a woman. And the poster said, dude, WTF. Apparently, there's this guy that goes around and basically just says misogynistic BS.
Okay,
so he's just a troll. But I thought it was funny because our poster literally put all in caps, dude, WTF. And it made me laugh.
You gotta have hobbies, right?
Yes, I guess. Now, I know we're planning something for a concert with our last post, but let's see what happened at Disney again, shall we? For our next story, am I the a-hole for taking my daughter with brain damage to Disney and possibly ruining other people's trips? A little backstory. My 25 female, toddler, 3 female, was born with brain damage. It causes her to have difficulty understanding a lot of things. She also can't talk. Her only form of communication is screaming/crying. She also makes very loud noises when she is happy. I want to make this very clear. No amount of discipline or teaching her will ever help with this. But despite all her difficulties, she has fallen in love with all things Disney. Because of this, I decided to take her to Disney. I did my best to prepare for things. I planned the rides she could do around the times that would be less busy. I brought toys and activities to distract her through wait times. But things happen. We'd had people be rude to us and her all day long, mostly little things. A group of teenage girls pointed, laughed, and even took pictures of my daughter as she did her best to eat her lunch. People rolled their eyes at us and made snide comments as she attempted to carry every stuffed Disney toy she saw. But my final straw was when we were waiting in line for the Toy Story Alien ride. She was able to see the ride from where we were in line, so of course she started getting antsy. I did my best to distract her, but I was failing. She couldn't wait any longer. When the line wasn't moving, she started to scream in frustration. I picked her up to comfort her, but that made things worse. She started screaming louder and thrashing around. People were staring and talking about her under their breath. She needs to control her kid. That's just ridiculous. Why bring your kid if they act like that? Finally, someone said, a swift spanking will fix that. I'd had enough and snapped that she had brain damage and she couldn't help it. I got so upset that we just ended up leaving. At first, I thought they were the a-hole, but after hearing a friend's opinion, I'm beginning to question myself. They said her screaming is unpleasant and it possibly ruined people's day. So, am I the a-hole?
I'll start this off. You have a terrible friend. I'm sorry that your daughter has brain damage. That sucks. You sound like a great mom. Yeah, I guess I'll say it like this, and I might be saying it wrong, but lions don't concern themselves with the thoughts of sheep. You were doing a good thing. I'm sorry that people are cruel. It never ceases to amaze me of the ignorance and pain people can cause. I would never imagine that today that would still happen in a very public place like Disney. I don't understand how a group of kids, I don't care if they're teenagers or not, that one didn't sit there and go, this is not how we should be treating anyone. That blows my mind. For a pile of adults that are at Disney. Disney's for kids. Yes, adults can enjoy it, but not understanding in that moment that not everyone knows every situation that's happening, to openly chastise someone in a line when you don't know anything about what's happening, to the point where she had to defend herself and her daughter from people. All right, I understand the screaming can be unpleasant, is what the friend said.
Correct.
But if you don't like it, you can get out of line. They paid their money to be there as well. Yeah, that just makes me feel sad for because the truth is, now I'm seeing through this story, that's something that's going to be prevalent for the rest of your daughter's life. And I'm sorry that you're going to have to keep walking through that. But keep being a great mom. You did everything you could the right way. You say that you timed it to where you'd be going to the rides at least peak hours. That's a lot of homework to figure out all the math just so you're trying to be good about everything, because you know how hard it is. That doesn't mean you have to stay at home and never bring your daughter out to experience the real world. Just keep being the good person you are.
Well, let me go ahead and provide you with the consensus that I see. People say that she's not the a-hole. She can definitely go out and enjoy some things, especially with her daughter. It doesn't matter whether she's brain damaged or not. Although there is one thing that one commenter said, which was Disney parks actually offer extra assistance, or what they call extra love, for people with disabilities, to where you don't have to wait in lines.
Oh, that's perfect.
And you don't need to potentially, out of your control, of course, inconvenience the people around you with something that, one, people don't understand looking in, and two, you don't need to explain looking out. So Disney does offer that. And apparently there are quite a few parks that do offer this sort of,
good.
and I hope I'm saying this tactfully, but sort of a disability package where they can offer more attention and care when it comes to people who are struggling, and the families that unfortunately deal with the struggle as well. Now, let me go ahead and read some extra comments from our poster. The first comment she says is, "Thank you all. You've made me feel so much better and given me the courage to return to Disney with my daughter. I just need to stop feeling guilty for us having a place in the world. Also, thank you for all your advice. I wish I was given that info from the beginning." The second edit she put was, "I responded this to someone else, but now I feel it is necessary to add here. Believe me, I know how annoying and frustrating, agonizing even, it can be to listen to her scream. I do it every single day. I listen to it until I want to make myself go deaf, so I don't have to hear it anymore. But despite all of that, I have compassion towards her and to any other parent experiencing what I experience. I understand in ways parents of normal kids don't. I feel immensely guilty the moment she starts screaming in public. This is why I do my best to take her to places where there aren't really any people. But I knew Disney would be somewhere she'd truly be happy. So I took her. I guess if that makes me the a-hole, then so be it. I just want my daughter to feel like she deserves to go anywhere she wants. After reading all these supportive comments, I'm sorry if other people find us annoying, but I'm not taking away from her anymore. Thanks to those that showed support." Now I will go ahead and read what a commenter put in the perspective that's similar to what our poster put down. "I have 2 disabled children who are now adults. One has Down syndrome and the other has autism. We purposely didn't take them to Walt Disney World until we knew they were ready, which for them were 8 and 10. We did practice runs to local theme parks and other events where we knew there would be crowds of people. We also got the disability pass and still get it to this day. Did our first visit happen with no problems? No. There were some things we couldn't control. Weather that threw all of us off. But we had some tricks in our pockets used at some of our trial runs, which kept the meltdowns to a minimum. They also were old enough to know we would follow through with any behavioral issues. In my opinion, you took your daughter when she was too young. Even though she is brain damaged, she can learn, especially if her education gives her alternative ways to speak and make her wants and needs known." Now, I will say, and this is probably going to make me more of a devil's advocate, but to me, 3 does seem to be a little bit too young to truly enjoy Disney, especially when you're kind of knowing that you're going through these, I guess you could say, challenges with raising your child. And I sort of stand with this commenter when it comes to it. I don't think that our poster is the a-hole for wanting her daughter to enjoy things.
Yeah.
By no means that is not where I'm coming from. However, was it the right time? Would someone that young actually be able to truly enjoy that kind of thing later on in time? She might be brain damaged, and yes, things might be difficult, but by no means does that mean that she will not be able to enjoy a full long life or be able to surpass what people have thought are impossible for her, because I've seen people do amazing things with extremely challenging circumstances.
Well, just within health science and everything, the leaps and bounds we keep making and health is amazing. So hopefully for her, she gets to experience better things as she gets older.
Now, for me, since of course I've read through all these comments and I provide a more different perspective, you see it coming in. I see it looking at all of it. And I unfortunately don't have a very positive light on how our poster has responded to a lot of people. A lot of people who are providing their opinions, their viewpoints.
Okay.
When you go ahead and you post on the AITA forums or any forum, you're opening yourself up to all the critique.
Sure.
And when you attack anybody that gives a different perspective other than a positive one, it means you weren't there to actually take the critique.
No, yeah.
And when I read through how our poster responds to a lot of commenters, even just to the person that I read now, where I think our commenter who provided her insight on, hey, I think you might have brought your daughter when she was a little too young, and I understand your struggles. We also have had to go through our struggles. Our poster sort of batted her comment away and said, how dare you essentially make any type of comparison between your child and my own. This is where I got more of your situation. It's not an a-hole moment. Right?
Sure.
You're allowed to do these great things for your kids. Your reactions to our Redditors when they provide you true feedback is an a-hole moment.
Got you. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, it does sound like she was just looking for an echo chamber for just positive stuff for her. Well, that sucks. The base of the story is good, though. It's just...
Correct.
It just sounds like, yeah, when she wasn't hearing... I mean, even with that, I can understand people saying a little bit older, a little more training, a little more education. The kid would have handled a little bit better and it'd be less worry for everyone, so I can understand it. Yeah, I don't get how old's he? OP 25? I thought you said she was young.
She's 25.
So she's
and
still,
her toddler's 3.
She's still learning all this stuff too, and so she would be hyper defensive of anything.
Correct.
So I guess hopefully she learns that when people do give you honest feedback, especially coming from experience, because that couple has been doing this for a while now. Their kids are adults.
They have 2 disabled adult children.
If anyone can speak on this matter, it's them. That sucks that she's not willing to take viewpoints that are not, I mean, that's not even a negative viewpoint.
It's just saying maybe you should have just waited longer.
All.
Well, I hate to say it like this because of how And this just shows you the dynamics of how Reddit forums work. Because of how the commenter has taken to essentially, I wouldn't say attacking, it's nearing attacking any type of feedback that's not you do you.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody that supports her on there is getting a bunch of dislikes because now our Redditors know that if they comment anything at all, she'll just attack them. And so will whoever is associated with her. So the way that the community has decided to backlash is anybody that's potentially supporting her is getting dislikes on their comments like crazy. It just goes to show that there's a vicious cycle there.
Sure.
Where
that's interesting.
If you're not allowed to speak on a certain topic freely in a place where you put the problems out there for people to speak on, that you're only creating more negativity.
Yeah, it's a one-way street. That's never good. That's not a conversation. Why would you even put it up there? If you weren't looking for people's honest feedback, then... Like, I've been wrong on plenty of things since we started this channel, but I'm okay with hearing that I'm wrong. It's not about being wrong. It's understanding why a viewpoint looks different from other perspectives, I think.
I think for me, it's more of, and she really does have that mother bear syndrome, I suppose.
I would imagine that you would have to build that up because of the situation she's been put in.
But not against people who are in the same boat as you.
When you put those walls up, that's why when people say, I've just got walls up and you're never going to get by them easily. That's probably one of those things. She's had to create thick hide. I mean, I don't blame her for being at 25 and having to endure groups of people taking pictures of your daughter.
That is awful.
That is
absolutely like...
So to have to deal with that towards your loved one, I can understand where thick hide and an attack nature first comes. But as she gets older, hopefully through stuff like this, she can see where she was also wrong in how she's operated. But I can't blame someone at 25 for being, let's attack. How many 25-year-olds take critique well? There might be some out there, right? But for most of us, especially when we were younger, the last thing you wanted to hear was someone tell you something that you didn't want to hear.
That's true.
So that's where I come. She'll learn.
Well, let's go ahead and leave Disney behind us, shall we?
Yeah.
Although, we're still going to stick with some daughters for our next post. Am I the a-hole for posting an inappropriate post of my daughter and I? So I, female 56, decided to get Instagram and Snapchat to connect with my kids, Linda, female 19, and Connor, male 16 more. I'm still getting the hang of it, but Connor showed me how it worked. My husband, Bill, male 55, has no interest in any social media, as it's just not his thing. Anyway, I hadn't posted yet, and I had taken a trip down to Cancun with Linda over her spring break, as we had talked about doing it after the lockdown was over. We took a lot of great photos, and for my first post, I figured it'd be extremely sweet if it was a photo of Linda and I at the beach. We were both wearing bikinis for reference, because a day after the post, Connor told me that his friends who follow Linda were saying inappropriate things about us. Connor said it was gross seeing his mom and sister like that anyway and wanted me to take the post down. Linda eventually took Connor's side after she found out, and she even admitted one of her friends' moms thought it was inappropriate of me to be exposing us near nude like that. I really had no bad intentions, and I've been crying for the past 2 hours. Bill's been neutral on the whole thing and has been trying to comfort me, but the kids are giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the a-hole?
All right. This is a baby spicy meatball because I can definitely see where the mom was. She's 56, so she's getting in the game a little later than normally, right? Like, 'cause
Correct.
good for her. I guess I'll say it like this. I don't think that. I guess it's the content of the picture, right? It's a beach picture. I guess you probably should have asked your daughter if it was okay to post something as. Oh, because it's funny, right? Me even saying that, I feel the tickle is like it's a private moment, but in a public space. If you're already wearing that on the beach in public, then posting it on social media, what's the difference, right? Like that's where I'm like, you shouldn't be getting upset about if you walked on that beach with your mom like that, then her being joyous to post you guys up on her first social media account. Why are you being upset? So I can see it from that. The child in me looks at the brother, and you know how like if one of your friends had like a hot sister when you're growing up, you gave him so much hell for that. Like that's a thing. So I'm sure all his friends looked at his sister and were like, yo, this is hilarious, and joked about him. And I'm sure that can't feel good for a 16-year-old. Social media is very like, you have to be careful what you post because that affects everything. Job potential, dating, all of it. It is a quick view into who you are, right or wrong. People will do it. That's just how it works. If that's not the way your daughter wants to be represented online, then I would definitely take it down, obviously. But I don't know. I guess I come back to if she was out there in public already, I don't see as it being harmful that she posted it. I guess I'm going to have to say I don't believe that the mother is the a-hole.
Well, Oliveretta also says she's not the a-hole. In fact, let me go ahead and provide you with a little update. It says, thank you all for the responses, everyone. Sorry I couldn't respond to much. It's definitely been a rough night. I found out how to archive a post, and I've done so, but my son is still being really weird towards me. I can tell he's grossed out having seen his mother and sister exposed like that, and I don't know how to approach him. As for Linda, she hasn't said much to me either. As for my friend's mother judging me, it hurts because we've mostly had really nice conversations in the past whenever we saw each other. How I confront this with her, I don't know. Now, a lot of commenters were saying, anytime there's a picture of you and someone with you, you should more than likely ask them before you post the picture up. Even if it's just letting them know, hey, this looks like a good picture for me to put on my such and such.
Sure.
Would at least give them the go ahead to say, no, I don't feel comfortable with you putting that up. Or if you go ahead and cut me out, feel free.
Sure.
But I would say that's the only thing. The fact that her son is taking it one step too far has hit a lot of commenters the wrong way. They say you have a group of friends that's really gross if they're commenting like that. And if you can't handle it and put your friends in check, it kind of falls on you.
Guys rip each other all the time about that kind of stuff. You just have to learn to roll with the punches.
Apparently, her mom says that it's taken her 5 years just to feel comfortable in a bikini again. So clearly she has some self-image issues that she's worked through and now feels more comfortable.
Good.
Comfortable enough to be able to walk in a bikini with her daughter. She says by no means are these skimpy bikinis, that they're just normal bikinis that girls wear. It just seems that like a lot of people are taking something that's very innocent and are just trying to twist it into something perverted.
Don't feel bad for what you did. Yes, definitely ask in the future if other people are in the photos, but that's pretty harmless.
Now, We kind of went to posting on our social media. Let's see what it's like at the gym. For our next story, am I the a-hole for telling a lady not to do hip thrusts at a bench?
I want off the ride.
Yesterday, I was at the gym and I noticed this lady who was doing hip thrusts at a flat bench. This looked weird, but regardless, I went up to her and asked how many sets she has, to which she said 1. As a result, I decided to wait until she's done with her exercise. For those of you that don't work out, a flat bench press at any gym is 90% of the time being used, and most of the time you'll have to wait in line. It looks extremely bad to do any other exercise that can be done at a different spot where people don't have to wait. However, I let the lady do her exercise. She then tells me with attitude, "Why don't you do another exercise until I'm done?" To which I say, "I'll just wait until you're finished with your set." She tells me I don't know gym etiquette and that I'm impatient. To which I respond with, "Maybe you shouldn't be doing hip thrusts at a flat bench if you don't want people constantly waiting." She then reports me to the staff. The staff essentially saw where I was coming from, but does note that people can do any exercise at any machine. I told her I was aware, which is why I waited until the lady was done. I'm asking, am I the a-hole? Because 2 other people who overheard the conversation said I was rude.
So, gym etiquette. I'm going to have to say, yes, he is right. And the staff is right. She has every right to do hip thrusts on a bench, and you wait your turn. That's just how it works. You don't get to prioritize just because someone's actually using it for what it was made for, although that makes sense. But that's not how gyms work, right? You wait your turn. If someone's using it, you wait, or you go and work out at another machine.
But he did wait his turn.
Yeah, sure. But then the jabbing started going back and forth. To say someone doesn't know gym etiquette when they were just sitting there waiting, I think it's a preference, right? If someone, the difference between everyone is that one person could look at that situation and go, okay, I'm going to sit here and wait like the gentleman does. Or you have another person that goes, all right, let me go get in whatever it is at the next one. She'll be done in like 15 minutes. Let me go get these reps in. But if you do that and someone else gets in line and waits, when she's done, the thing you were waiting for is now being snatched up, and then you get to wait again, depending on how busy the place is. So in my mind, he was doing the right thing. I think jabbering back and forth with her was where he got caught. You should have just been quiet, let her do her reps. So yeah, I think unfortunately for you, you were kind of the a-hole, but kind of not. I hate these.
Well, the consensus on the moderator said that he is the a-hole. However, for me, if you go to the gym and you make it your thing to go to a gym, you should be more comfortable in that type of environment.
Sure.
If there's a guy that's creeping around you, I think that's different. Had he been following her from machine to machine and that's what was skeeving her out, then I can understand it. But from how I was reading, especially with a lot of commenters, is you wait to be able to use said machines. And if you leave the wait line, you lose your chance. Yep. So would I say that his interactions with her makes him the a-hole? Yeah, he could have dealt with this a better way. He apparently it sounded like he was annoyed to begin with that she was using an equipment in the way that he deemed wasn't correct, but he was just dealing with it. She had 1 set left. He was waiting. Now, he might have been originally slightly annoyed, but I don't think it truly pushed off into full annoyance until she turned and started attitude with him.
Yeah.
As a woman, I can see where her attitude would have stemmed him off.
Well, he already starts with how many reps you got left. That's already a no-no.
And for her, she's like, why are you trying to rush me, right?
You
and he's all like, I'm just going to sit and wait. And for him, it's just, I'm going to sit and wait because if I don't sit and wait now. It may have
initially been harmless going, how many reps you got? Because I need to know.
But I can see it from her where she's like, he's trying to rush me. And now he's going to sit there and watch me.
Quietly.
And then it suddenly turned into this whole really intense situation because she's sensitive about somebody making her uncomfortable when she put herself in that situation.
Sure,
you're in a public space using public items,
But a lot of people unfortunately treat the gym as a private space. Themselves.
The one thing that I can say is some commenters were trying to twist and say that the staff told him that he was bad along with the 2 people that said that he was being an a-hole. I don't think that's necessarily the case because nowhere in his thing did he say that the staff said that he was rude or that he was out of place. They would have kicked him out if that was the case. Gyms, my understanding, don't take any of that, especially now. I don't think that he's the a-hole. Was his attitude a-hole-ish? Well, yes.
That's what I say.
But so was hers.
Is and wasn't. It took two to make that situation where it got. So.
Well, let me go ahead and continue on with this last situation. And boy, is it a doozy.
Uh-oh.
Am I the a-hole for sulking about the fact that my wife won't let me watch my son's birth? I, 28 male, have been with the love of my life, Emily, 26 female, for 7 years, married for 2. We have always talked about having kids, and I've always wanted to be there when they were born. When my dad was still alive, he used to tell me and my siblings all the time about how it literally brought him to tears. Not a man who cries, by the way. And he would say he was so grateful for all of us and for the experience. My beautiful and amazing wife is 8 months pregnant. It's been a pretty difficult pregnancy for her. Well, for us, but especially to her. She's had a few miscarriages in the past, and I've just been praying to God for both of them to make it through safely. We were talking more and more about what's going to happen when she goes into labor, and she's very adamant that I not be in the room, natural or C, no matter what. I've tried convincing, pleading, begging, but she won't change her mind. Her mom is going to be with her, and I understand that she needs her mom and that she needs to do whatever to make sure that everything goes smoothly. I don't want to stress her out too much because I keep telling myself all that matters is that they're both healthy, and I'm honestly really sad about not being able to be there for my son's birth. It's not about me. I know that. All that matters is that they're both healthy. I've been trying to come to terms and understand this on my own time so as not to bother her. But Emily's just being so condescending to me. And I know that she's just stressed out and scared, so she doesn't mean it. But I feel like I need to process this at least for a few days. I still do everything as I've done before, but she says that now I have this beaten puppy dog look on my face, and it's pissing her off. Then she started scolding me, asking me why it mattered so much to me, and if I was going to act this week in front of our son. She told me I needed to just be a fucking man and get the fuck over it. I feel like crying, but I don't want her to know and get mad at me again. So I told her I was going out to get groceries, and I'm writing this in the car to try and calm myself down. I love her so much, but what she said really hit me hard. I just want them both to be healthy and safe, but I also wanted to be there. Am I the a-hole?
All right, you left the spicy meatball for spicy meatballs.
Super spicy meatball.
Gosh, man. All right. I feel for the guy. Because I understand. He even says it a couple times already. Like, all he wants, and he understands, 2 big things. 1, it's not about him. He already lets you know where his mind's at. It's not about him. 2, all he cares is that the baby and his wife are healthy. It's a good place to be already in the mindset. But his father told him about the experiences of, and if you're lucky enough, you have parents that have told you that. I was there for you when the birth happened. It was an amazing experience. And I think for some people, they might really want that experience. And then there are some that go, I'm just going to wait out here. Call me when it's done. For him, though, his father gave him a good memory that he had, and he wanted to also experience that for himself. Now, if there is a solid reasoning as to why your wife is telling you she doesn't want you in that room when she gives birth, then fine, you listen to it and you try to acquiesce to her desire. But I'm not hearing anything in there as to a clear defined reason as to why she doesn't want him in there so vehemently that she would chastise and then attack him. Those words are terrible. Be a man. What do you mean by that? By him caring and wanting to experience the birth of his child with you, to be there and make sure that everything goes according to plan? I mean, that sounds like a manly thing to me. I don't understand why she's cheapening it down to that. That sucks for him. If that's how she's treating you now, you can act that soft in front of our children. What kind of patronizing crap is that? I don't get that, where you have to talk to your partner in that type of manner. So no, man, I don't believe that you are the a-hole. I'm actually upset for you that you have to deal with that. Yes, she's going through the pregnancy, and yes, she wants her mother in that room, but I believe that she owes you, and I hate saying owes because when you're talking about relationships, owing anyone is not proper, but you maybe owe is wrong. You both owe it to each other to have a real adult conversation about why he can't be in that room. I think that's all he's looking for, because I didn't get that from him. As to the real reasons. Can you give me one? I'm going through it in my head and there's no logic there.
Oh,
That's ridiculous.
It's definitely not okay.
Like, I feel for you, man. And he's like, I'm sitting there crying in the car while I'm writing this to Reddit. How savage is that? Or that's happening, and I'm sure he isn't the only one that's ever happened to. That sucks, man. I don't get it. And then to have the response she did to him.
Well, I think I know what your verdict is.
Yeah.
In all of Reddit, a consensus in it was that he's not the a-hole. You have some people say that everybody sucks, right? She has already made it known that this is what she wants to do with her body, because it is her body.
Sure.
And then other people say that it sucks that she had to even talk to him like that. It sucks that how he's portraying himself, or his attitude that's coming off, is probably really stressing her out as she's getting closer to term. Now, unfortunately, there is no updates for this one. It looked like our poster deleted his whole account. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can go on to provide any type of closure. Hopefully things are good. I know some people put out there, and they have asked, like you have asked, what is her reasons?
Give me a good reason. And
is it because our poster is squeamish and faints? Would this cause her more stress in the middle of trying to deliver? Does she feel more comfortable with her mom? Does she not truly trust our poster for whatever reason?
That's where I'm like, there's something
because
weird.
A lot of women who do give birth find it that it is their most vulnerable time of their entire life. It is where their health and the safety of their child come into play, and there's nothing that they can do but trust the people around them. So if our poster is known to be more, and I hate to say it, not dramatic, but impulsive, or can't control himself properly, or will only make it emotionally more drawn out than it has to, it's so hard to say that she didn't already give him a good reason and he just didn't put it in the post. This is what makes it so difficult, and why there are a lot of people in the comments that say they need more information on why.
Definitely. I agree with that.
you provided that she said no and that she wants her mother in there, but you never said exactly why. And you never said that you don't understand why she didn't tell you. I think that's where we're kind of, at least for me, where we're left with a lot more questions as to, I can understand why it is that some women would feel more comfortable with having a mother there.
Sure.
I can understand why it is that there are a lot of men out there who don't feel comfortable being in the delivery room. But very rarely is it that a woman tells a man, no, don't be there for me on one of the hardest things that I'll do my entire life.
Yeah. I've heard that exact thing. I wish he was in there. I wish he had, and there goes that man thing. I wish he had nutted up and came in there, and instead of hiding in the back. I've heard that way too many times as I was growing up in my youth. Obviously, everyone's different.
Correct.
But
I think the thing that makes this so harsh is that she says such, and it's hard to say, but it's almost like she's got misogynistic a viewpoint of her own husband.
Sure.
And he should by far not feel bad to care about his wife. Now, one poster did say this might be her choice to do with her body, but once you say things, you cannot take it back. And that will stay and be there. A lot of people have suggested they should probably go for counseling, because if she's verbally talking to him like that, and it's something that may persist even after, because she'll be dealing with postpartum. And if she sees, I was able to, and I hate to say it like this, I was able to do this and get away with this, and there was no repercussions for what I did, it might be something that might be a precedence from that moment in the relationship into something where she becomes abusive, and it will just get more verbally abusive for him till their marriage just cracks. And unfortunately, a child will be in the middle of it.
Yeah, they definitely might have to. I agree with that. They might have to go get some counseling while it's still at the early. Hopefully, we hope it's at the early stages, and this wasn't just something that he's already been dealing with for the last 7 years I think they've been together.
Correct.
It might just be who she is, so hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully they can go get some therapy. But
I wish our poster all the best, and hopefully things turned out for the best between them, and if not, maybe they're working for it.
That's all we can hope for. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We will be regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Remember, listeners, we absolutely love reading your comments, so please feel free to comment on your viewpoints in the comment section below.
There was a lot. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.